Welcome to the Tribe of the Restored Warrior podcast, where coming home changed doesn't mean you're broke.
Welcome to another episode of the Tribe of the Restored Warrior. I'm Justin, joined by Dr. Ben Iobst. In this episode, we're going to talk about emotional fatigue after the holidays and rebuilding resilience. So it's pretty common after the holidays to kind of have some emotional decompression, in my experience, and some fatigue, but that doesn't necessarily equal weakness. I think it's important that we recognize this early and we reset intentionally.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think, kind of what my brand's saying we're looking at here is a couple different things. So we've got the holidays, right? Regardless of what type of holidays you celebrate, in the veteran and first responder world, kind of a couple different things are happening. So there can be that stress going into the holidays, right? Where we're dealing with the stress of our loved ones, kind of making a big deal out of the holiday, and getting themselves all torqued up while we're sitting there going, what's the big deal? There could also be that stress of the holidays in the capacity of we're going to see people that we normally do not see, and they can be triggers for us. And then that third territory could also be the stress of loneliness. Maybe we don't have anybody, and we don't got anybody to spend the holidays with. So that, in many different things, ends up, we have all these expectations, or we're coping and we're putting a lot of energy into coping, right? And then we get out the other end of this thing, and a lot of times emotional exhaustion exists, right? In certain worlds, we call it kind of the emotional hangover. The emotions have been way up, way up, way up, way up. We had expectations how things were gonna be, or we were coping through for such a period of time. We get through it, and bam, now we're fatigued, right? We're grouchy, we're annoyed. We don't want to do anything else. And in that capacity, we have to be very, very careful, because that's where a lot of our bad behaviors start to kick in, right? That's where those shames can kick in. It didn't go how I wanted it to go, right? I said something to somebody I didn't want it to say. Nobody called me over the holidays, so I'm now feeling like my circle doesn't exist, right? And that stuff, to be very, very careful. It hits that service orientation harder than it does the average person when we don't and can't get something to go how we want it to go, or we kind of feel alone, right? That's first responders, pack animals. And in the vast majority of situations, even if you're tied to a healthy organization, where's everybody during the holidays, right? They're with their individual families. So we may feel super alone. So the signs that we have to look for within this, right? Fatigue is a signal, right? It's a signal. We're tired, we're grouchy, right? We don't want to deal with anybody, right? That's a signal that something's going on, but it is not an internal failure. It's not something to take as, I'm a piece of crap, and everything's out of control. Don't do that, right? It's just a signal. So really, to go through this and ask ourselves a couple different things. One, what drained me? What exhausted me in this situation, right? And doing this with our healthy battle buddies, our healthy brothers and sisters, that's the place to do this, right? And then what didn't get resolved, what didn't get restored, and how do we get back there, right? How do we work on that? Hey, I had this expectation that my kid that I haven't talked to in X amount of time, I was going to get together with them on the holidays. I had this picture in my brain, right, where it was going to be like this reunion, and we were going to be super happy. Didn't happen, right? Turned into a blow up. They got mad. I got mad. I turned into a drill sergeant, went to total shit, and now I'm feeling shameful, right? It's all right. It's all right. We always have an opportunity to try again, right? We're alive. So the things here really are to reestablish basics, right? To get that energy back, we got to concentrate on that wellness triangle. So we got to worry about our sleep. We got to stay hydrated. We got to, in a lot of situations, stay away from our dangerous substances, our substances that throw us off, our alcohol, other substances as well. And staying close to our tribe, absolutely essential. then focusing on not lowered expectation, but realistic expectations, right? We a lot of times have this idea that we can fix everything very, very quickly. And it's just not the case, right? Life doesn't work that way. So functioning kind of on that dimmer switch, right? Where I can, even if things are 1% better, they're 1% better, right? It doesn't have to be that 50, 100% better overnight. Naming what we're upset about and really trying to put our finger on it so it gives us a purpose, right? Purpose-driven growth is our aim here. And if we can name what our purpose is, that can be extremely helpful. And then again, as I said, staying connected with other healthy peers. Absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. And if you don't have healthy peers, right? If you don't have healthy people around, again, if you're local in the Lehigh Valley, get to our Restored Warrior meetings, right? Get to our Restored Warrior meetings. They're on the web at bticonsultingservice.com/TORW. TORW. Tango, Oscar, Romeo, Whiskey. And on there, there's the guide how to build these meetings and all the ones locally in the Lehigh Valley. If you're from a different region, take the guide and run with it. Find 3 to 5 other healthy vets and build out a group. But again, that connection is just so essential because it really keeps me personally aimed in the right direction. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think this is an important topic that I've never really heard anyone talk about. What do we do after the holidays when we're feeling run down or whatever, and how we could recharge ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think nobody talks about it, but it's the territory. I know from the wellness team side of things, now is when we're getting the phone calls, right? We're not getting the calls in the middle of the holidays. Now is when we're getting the phone calls. People are feeling the shame over things that happen over the holidays, or they're so lonely that, they've turned the drinking way up, or they've turned the drug use way up, or in some situations they're contemplating suicide. So it's that 2-3 weeks after the holiday season that we got the problem. And again, it could just be that they're so emotionally dysregulated from years of missing holidays that now you're thrown into it and it all goes to crap, or you missed them due to work or deployments. Yeah.
Good stuff. So resiliency isn't rebuilt in cycles. It's not something that just happens.
Yeah.
With a snap of a finger. And I think it's a good way. We should practice one small restorative action this week. Maybe reaching out, hydrating, taking care of ourselves, regroup after the holidays.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance, kind of like Dr. Ben said, check out our Tribe of the Restored Warrior resources on the website, and tune in next time for another episode.
Awesome. Thank you.
Tribe of the Restored Warrior works in collaboration, contributes to Vets and Badges, where real-life heroes share their trials and tribulations. Please check out www.vetsandbadges.com for more information.